For some people it's morning, for some people it's evening, for some people it's afternoon. For me personally, it's actually afternoon now, 5 p.m. So how was your trading day? Who was able to catch RGTI? Quite a story right today, RGTI. Okay. So first learning, right, Seth? I think that's an excellent way. That's also what is the topic of today. We're gonna really dive deep into a topic. Okay, I wanna do something a little bit different today, right? I wanna go really deep into a specific topic, right? We're seeing like a lot of volatility everywhere. In AMD this week, up 40%, crazy. We've seen also like the Core Weave last week, and of course Oracle 2 weeks ago. Nvidia also again, of course, a fresh new all-time high today. Why? Because it's all part of the AI revolution, and that is what I would like to discuss with you guys today. All right, so we're gonna wait 2 more minutes and then we're gonna start, and it's gonna be worth your time, I promise you, and it's gonna be really great. I'm looking forward to share this with you guys. Because the last couple of weeks we have been more or less just reading the price action of the day every day, but today we're really gonna dive deeper into a topic. Let's give each other. Okay, we're gonna give everyone 2 minutes, not more, but so one minute until 11:03. Because still people are flocking in. Hi Pramila. You got caught in Tesla. That's not great to hear. Tesla has been super strong last couple of weeks, but now it's a little bit, the volume is a little bit not there. I think the liquidity now again went to the AMD, right? Nvidia. One of the biggest lessons I learned in the stock market is the liquidity is in certain areas, right? All the buying and selling happening in certain areas, and that's changing all the time. And you just need to anticipate where it is, right? So last week it was Tesla, or 2 weeks ago, very in play. This week is AMD related stocks, right? RGTI, it's also part of the AI revolution, right? And then this week it's not so much Tesla. Hey, I see more and more people coming in. So we're gonna start in, I think, 20 seconds. Because today, yes, let's start, all right? So today we're gonna do it a little bit different. Today I wanna discuss how to invest in artificial intelligence in the divining wave, right? And especially in the AI revolution. And it's a very broad topic, right? Because as also Jeff Bezos said last week in a big interview, and he just mailed me, and I will send you the link of the interview. He said AI is gonna change a lot of companies, right? And complete, like in all kind of different sectors, right? In some sectors through robotics, in some sectors simply through more higher productivity, right? In other sectors, it's gonna completely disrupt it. For example, like it's gonna disrupt the taxi drivers. There will be a lot of autonomous driving, right? And in other sectors, they're gonna be like a big boom in data centers. So it's very different how it's gonna impact the different sectors and different companies, but it's gonna be a broad change for all the companies, right? So we're gonna discuss that today, because also it gives opportunities, right? For example, I'm pretty heavy invested in AMD. It's now my second biggest position, and this week it moved 40% up, right? And it was a very interesting case why I invested in AMD. And let's discuss today how to understand the AI revolution better, because it also will make you a better day trader, right? And a better swing trader, because then you can anticipate better where is the volume. So first of all, what are we going to discuss here? Like a first quick introduction for who am I, right? Because for example, some people are new here. We're going to discuss like the AI revolution, where we're coming from, where we're now, and where we're heading to in the AI revolution. And that's like the start point, because then we're going to jump into the productivity growth. Because the first misconception about the AI revolution is that it's going to replace the workers or replace humans. That's not what's going to happen. The AI revolution is not about replacing humans or workers. It's about a productivity growth, that simply workers will be way more productive and application going to be way more productive. And this is an increase in tenfold or 20 or 30 times? In the end, not yet, but it will be like in the upcoming time, even though already the productivity is increasing, right? Like I always use the example, like 5 weeks ago, Andrew Assis mentioned in his newsletter that he laid off 2 people because his other employers could do the same work that they did before with more people because of AI, right? And also, like if you look on Twitter and X, most of the message you're actually seeing is generated by AI, right? So it's already happening, and that is really like the consequence from the AI revolution, way more productivity. And that's also why you see why the GDP is expected to go to growth, and why you also see the stock market really making all-time high basically every day. Then we're going to jump into the scale of long-term investing, right? And that's really where the things connect, right? The AI revolution, what's going to change, and the scale of long-term investing. And that is what we're going to discuss today. Said, yes, I'm going to record this presentation. And if you just send me a mail, lenny@pcapitaltrading.com, I can send you the recording, right? Because I think it's a very, very important topic. So who am I? I think most of you guys know me, right? My name is Lenny. I graduated psychology with honors at the University of Amsterdam. I worked in anti-fraud. I played poker while I was studying, also professionally. And I really like human behavior. I like incomplete information. I like decision making, right? That's also what made me a trader. I traded for a European prop trading firm, and now I'm senior trader and team lead at P Capital Trading. And these are, of course, really exciting times where we're in now. So any questions? Always send me mail, lenny@pcapitaltrading.com, and follow me on Twitter, tradingwlenny, for updates. I'm posting a lot of updates. So this is the overview of today, what we're going to discuss. So what is the goal? What is the goal of today? I want you to leave today with an improved understanding of the AI revolution, right? Where we're coming from, where we're now, and where we're going to, and understanding better the skill of long-term investing, right? And that combination is how we can profit, because everything gonna change in the upcoming 2 to 10 years. And actually, everything is already changing, right? AMD now entering actually the Magnificent 7 stocks, so now it's gonna be like the Magnificent 8 stocks, right? Because it moved up 40% this week, and 2 weeks ago Oracle, so it's already happening. I'm gonna explain you a lot today, and if you like to go more in the topic, next Monday, October 13, I'm starting with a 2-month elite course on this topic, right? Long-term investing and AI market opportunities. This is going to be the topics to discuss. It's gonna be every week a very long webinar, 1 hour and a half, and then we're gonna discuss. We have a dual focus, right? Each week, one topic of going very deep into the topic of long-term investing, the different chapters you find on the left, and at the same time, we're gonna immerse ourselves in the AI revolution, right? We're gonna take a look at the AI cloud, the AI data centers, the semiconductors like AMD, at the energy, because there needs to be a lot of energy, etc., etc. The course is just $999, and there's 20 spots only available, and already halfway full. So if you're interested, you can find a link to the course left above. So let's proceed, right? Let's start. We just finished the introduction. Let's go ahead. So let's start with this, right? First, we had the first industrial revolution. What was the first industrial revolution about? It was about the steam machine. It was the first time we could actually build serious machines, because we discovered that with steam we could make things move, right? At the same time, iron got introduced. And what was the main implication of this, introducing the steam machine and iron? That it multiplied productivity a lot of times, right? Because for the first time we had a machine, for the first time we had like mechanized transport. Things could go way faster, way effectively, and we could actually produce with machines. The second industrial revolution, where was it about? It was about adding electricity and adding steel and adding the phone, right? This also multiplied our productivity by 20 times. You can imagine, right? Like the world is really at least 20 times more productive with energy than without energy. And of course, especially now when everything is adjusted right now, right? Then there was a third industrial revolution. It's a digital revolution where we got internet, right? And you can imagine that internet improves our productivity even by 50 times more. Because with internet you can communicate way faster, you can build data sets, we can just simply look in databases and everything, right? So really all these industrial revolutions are about productivity. And currently we're in a fourth industrial revolution. It's the AI revolution. And what it's going to do is gonna increase our productivity, right? We're already seeing it everywhere. Like even for this presentation, I also ask like certain things, right? If I need to know something, okay, I ask a little question. I get straight away an answer. If I know something, because English is not my first language, if I ask like a certain grammar, okay, I ask it ChatGPT, I straight away get an answer. And that's of course just the beginning because we're just 2.5 years in. So let's start with where we're coming from quickly, okay? So this is the AI revolution. It started like in the first decade of this century already. It was a very quiet, but already a pivotal period, right? Because of the internet, we had bigger data sets, massive labeled data sets, right? Because the internet is storing everything. It's like getting information, you get data sets. At the same time, IBM and Google, they started with the first speech recognition models. So they were able, with listening to speech, to recognize what was said. And they used statistical language model for it. At the same time, which was very important, 2008, the development of the GPU. This is the chip where NVIDIA is now producing, where they became so valuable with, and it's also used in the AI revolution. So the GPU, very important, is an AI chip, and they use it to train neural networks, right? So this was the first decade, very relative quiet, but already the fundamentals, right? Big data sets, speed recognition, and the development of the GPU. And the next decade, from 2010 to 2020, there was this competition, right? Where programmers, teams of programmers, they got an assignment to recognize images. That a software, piece of software, should be able to recognize what was on the image. And in 2012, AlexNet won it. And they won it because they trained GPUs with neural networks, so with the networks, to recognize the images, right? It was a very pivotal point. Then this continued in breakthroughs, right? Then they started to train GPUs with neural networks to do speech recognition, went very well. This continued even further in 2016 when the Google DeepMind team beat the world champion in Go through the same thing, to training GPUs with neural networks and reinforcement learning. Yes, 30 years ago, also a computer beat the world champion of chess, but that was happened by brute computational force, just calculating everything. But here in this case, it was really about learning, really about finding the next most efficient step. And that's the big difference, right? And that happened in 2016. It was also interesting about it that actually the team, the algorithm, it found a strategy that humans never even thought about. And that was so fascinating about. So like humans have like a strategy, like how to play the game, but this algorithm made like a new strategy, right? Because it's all the time calculating what is the next and most efficient step. There's also like a very nice Netflix documentary about it, AlphaGo. Then in 2017, we had like a very important core innovation. That was like the transformer architecture, right? Because you can imagine it's very, very difficult because what are AI models doing is they're simply looking at all the information to predict what is going to be the next word or the next image or the next step, right? That's how all these algorithms work. But it's not really efficient, right? And then came the breakthrough in 2017 where suddenly they added probability towards it. And then they could like be way more effectively finding what could be the next word, step, or image, right? Well, that was the breakthrough. And then in 2018, GPT-1 could generate text. GPT-2, it seems to be start to look like human writing. Now becoming the current decade, GPT-3 showed really like writing. It looked like human writing. It could do a little bit of coding, a little bit of reasoning. Then we got foundation models, really focused on specific data sets. And the big moment came in 2022, right? Where the public awakening came when ChatGPT got launched. It was the first time when we went from a research to actually a consumer product. Very, very pivotal moment, right? Because before it was all research, and now suddenly we had a consumer product, and it's actually a very fast growing, life-changing product, right? Well, in 2023, we saw like enterprise adoption. Now you had like AI co-pilots, Microsoft, Google, Adobe. If you're like working on their software, you're working in their cloud, there's like a co-pilot. You can ask it questions, you can give it assignments. Can you program this? Can you do this? Can you do this for me, right? It's like an AI, but I call a co-pilot, 2023. That year there also came government AI regulation. Last year, 2024, there started to become AI agents to handle like a whole workflow. For example, you can tell them, okay, tonight I'm flying to New York and I want to have a hotel in the airport area. You can book it, right? And then the AI can do all the steps and it can book it, right? So that started last year. And this year is like the start of multimodal reasoning, right? Where it can combine not only the text, but also can combine images and also can listen, for example, through a microphone and add all the information. And also we're seeing, right, more robotics and autonomous research and agents entering deployment, right? So this is a little bit a summary of where we're coming from and where we're going for in the AI revolution. But what is AI, right? As I discussed, yes, exactly, that documentary, hey, that was it's a very interesting documentary about AlphaGo. I definitely recommend to watch it. So what is actually AI, right? It are models, as we discussed, built on these GPU AI chips on a lot of data that will predict what is the next word or step or image based on the context. So it just like finds correlations to predict the next word, only one next word or one next letter, right? And it used, so it's mimicking human understanding through probability and pattern recognition. So it looks for patterns in all the data, it looks for probability, and then it predicts the next word. But you can imagine how much energy that costs, right? How much power that costs. By the way, who of you guys have experience using AI? I think like it's very important to start be active with it because it's going to increase so much productivity, right? And if you don't do it, somebody else will do it, and she will be way more productive, right? So, and we're still like very early, right? We're only 2.5 years in since the first consumer product, so we're really early. All these applications still need to start. And don't forget, like robots and self-driving cars work on the same way. They get all this data and then they just predict the next step or the next movement, right? And also like AI that creates videos, it just takes all the data and predicts the next image. So what's going to be the breadth of impact? Well, a lot of repetitive tasks going to be automated, workflows that with co-pilots do like a lot of things, can summarize. For example, you don't have to follow a meeting anymore because the meeting can simply be recorded. You get all text and then you can ask questions and you get answers from the text, right? You can ask, hey, what did he say about this and this and this? And you get like an answer. You get like, what are like the most important, could you give me like a summary of like a very short summary in 300 words about the meeting, right? It goes way more efficient. You don't need to listen for 1 hour to a meeting. You can just like get like in a couple of minutes a complete summary and also even ask questions to that summary, right? At the same time, AI can use unstructured data, right? Let's say all the cameras of like a business can be like all combined and AI can read through it and can see what's happening because it's simply recognizing and it's combining the text models on it and you get intelligence. So basically teams will move more from doing tasks to actually directing these systems, right? So humans will supervise the work, while AI will handle the task. This means that simply things will go way more productive, as we have seen in the earlier industrial revolutions, right? And we still need to see like the self-learning drones and the robots that are coming in, right? They're becoming very soon, and soon also like drones will be able to smell. They will have like touch. They can see, and they have cameras, of course, right? And it all will be added to the models. So this will be a very big change in productivity, right? And the market's already seeing it. Everything is going up. So you can imagine how much compute power will be needed, right? As we discussed, it's it takes a lot of energy and compute actually to make the prediction, right? Because it takes all the data set and then predicts just one word. And then it takes again the whole data set, again one word, right? And therefore you need to train the models. So AI use is growing rapidly, right? It's going faster. As we speak, many people are like trying, learning with it, improving. But at the same time, there are going to be more applications, right? Now, last week we saw like this application to make creative videos from ChatGPT, right? More robots are getting used, more applications everywhere. This also will lead to more use. That will lead to more applications. That will lead to more use. So we need a lot of power, right? This is like what came out last week by Citigroup. Citigroup 2025, right? We invested in this year 400 billion. And then there are people saying, maybe it's only a one-time investment. But actually they're saying, okay, next year we're going to do 500 billion, then 600 billion, then even more than 600, then almost 700 billion every year, right? And Last week they came out that they increased it from 2.3 trillion actually to 2.8 trillion, right? So it's not that they think, okay, it's only going to be less. They, of course, expect that it's only going to be more, right? And it only makes sense as well. Well, the founder of NVIDIA said that he expects that from 2030, it's going to be 5 trillion a year, right? Because it's only going to increase. The models are going to be complexer. They're going to be better applications. People are going to use it more. So they're going to need a lot of investment. And therefore also you see, of course, AMD this week up 40%. That's directly related to it. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, and just mail me and I will send you like these interviews, okay? He said in his interview last week, you can find it also YouTube, he said he predicts that there are going to be data centers in 10 to 20 years on the moon, okay? Within 10 to 20 years. And he's like the biggest, one of the biggest inventors ever, right? He invented basically the online store, Amazon. Like he's like doing all kind of innovation in the space. He invented, for example, the digital book, right? The Kindle. It's like he did it. He basically invented cloud computing. He was the first one with AWS to do it. He's a very big visionary. And of course, this week, right, the OpenAI AMD deal, right? It's a deal to deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD GPUs. Well, and how much is 6 gigawatts? Like for 1 gigawatt, you need like a nuclear reactor. So that's the amount of power what it's about, right? So, and people speak about the bubble, right? But I mean, like the Citigroup, a huge bank, the CEO of NVIDIA, Jeff Bezos, OpenAI, AMD, Elon Musk, also they're all part of it, right? So they all believe in it. And I mean, like, for me, it's also obvious, right? Another one, right, about power. This is like a recent report. You can just find it on internet. They say like by 2027, AI data centers could require 68 gigawatts. And by 2030, it could reach 327 gigawatts, right? There are many nuclear reactors because one nuclear reactor is 1 gigawatt. So this is really like the scale what we're speaking about, right? And it's all because of the increase of productivity. Because let's go to the next step, okay? Because I want to explain something. So, but first of all, like this is like the daily chart, right? NVIDIA new all-time high. It's not only I'm saying it. It's not only that the CEOs are saying it. Also, the market is responding to it, right? NVIDIA today all-time high. There's another cloud provider, AI cloud provider, and NBIS moving up for many months in a row already. It's my biggest portfolio, my biggest stock in my portfolio right now. Google also moving up, right? Because we discussed Google as a big AI innovator. AMD this week moving up, right? So it's already happening. So what we're seeing is like an intelligence revolution. It's going to completely reshape work, industries, and also the financial markets. But we're still early. We're only 2.5 years in. Imagine it's like in one of these early called industrial revolutions, just 2.5 years in. There's way more to come. I would advise immerse yourself in all developments, right? And implication also in the financial market because they're going to reshape everything. What we see every day is going to continue for many more years. Are there now any questions for now before I continue? Because there's way more to discuss. But yes, so we discussed like a quick introduction of me. We discussed the AI revolution, where we're coming from, where we're going. So now let's go ahead to like what is the implication, right? The productivity growth. Because let's make this basic calculation, right? Let's say we take an example of an employee costing a company $100,000. The idea is it produces $200,000, right? It's like normal, like a company pays a certain amount for an employee and then he produces more so the company makes profit. But now we're going to give this employee $10,000 in AI, which is like a normal amount if you look at the prices. It can increase its productivity by 50%, right? I mean, that looks reasonable. Like if it never has to go to meetings anymore, if it can use robots for things, if it can never have to do simple tasks anymore, if it can draft emails, in all these other things, if it can ask simple and get simple questions answered, if it can look straight away through all the databases, everything is connected with each other, 50% productivity is easily possible, right? So what you're seeing, and also still we need to get like the robotics, the drones, the multimodality models, that all the cameras are connected, still need to fully enter, right? And all these other applications as well. So I think it's easy, a 50% increase in productivity. And then of course, forget if everything gets more effectively, well, we're going to see like more inventions, better designs, better healthcare, right? Because also now the whole DNA, the AI can read the whole DNA, right? And then it gets the data from the DNA and then it can connect it with all the data from your lifestyle. and with all the data from the general healthcare, everybody should be able to live more healthy and more productive, right? So I think it's very easy to have like a 50% more productivity, and you already see it, right? Because, for example, like I said, the example earlier today, what Andrew also said, like he laid off 2 workers 1 month ago because simply the other people could do way more with their existing time with all these applications. Just in a few buttons, you can like make an image. You don't need a designer anymore. Very quick, you can make a website. You don't need a website builder anymore. Right? So what is the consequences, right? That AI is about an unprecedented growth in the economy and the GDP. Because if everything is going to be 50% more productive, and also applications and software are going to be more productive, right? Because they can use way more with their data. Because all these applications, they create databases of information, and because of AI, we can do more things with these databases, right? Because we can ask the model questions, and the models knows the whole database. They get the information from it, and they can improve things, right? So everything going to be so much more productive, and this is going to lead to an unprecedented growth in the economy and the GDP, right? And the market's already adjusting, right? You see, like this is the SPY. Look at this; it's like a straight line up. That is because of all the investment, but also because we're anticipating a big growth in the economy. And actually, just a side note, this is also a way for the US administration to deal with the debt, right? Because the idea is to grow the economy faster than the debt is growing. And then you can, at least for a while, outpace the debt, and there won't be any issues with the debt for now, right? This is the QQQs today. Again, a fresh new all-time high. So it's really about productivity growth, right? It's a basic math, and I think it should be very easy to have like 50% more productivity. I mean, like when I made this presentation, I had for sure 50% more productivity, right? I've also been sending some mails out. So what did I do? I had some mailing list. I put this mailing list in an AI called GenSpark. I tell them, okay, can you make this one list of all the email addresses that I want to mail with like one column the first name, second column last name, and the third column the mail. And it just makes one database. It will be able to read like the 3 different Excel documents with the different names. It can recognize it and it can give me one list. Well, a lot of time saved, right? So the 50% productivity growth is easy. And that's also what we're seeing, right? So we discussed now a quick introduction. We discussed like the AI revolution, where we're coming from, where we're going, the implications, the productivity growth, what we're also seeing in the stock market. Now let's go ahead to the scale of long-term investing. Yes, Seth, we're going to discuss that now. Yes, Frank, you can send me an email. I will send you the presentation. No worries. I can send you the recording, send you the presentation, right? Because now let's take a look at the scale of long-term investing, and then we can apply it like on the AI revolution. What I'm going to tell you right now, if you apply this information, and I really recommend you to do it, that this is going to be like a fundament of how you're looking at it, you'll be better than at least 95% of all the investors, okay? The stock market, first of all, you need to understand the stock market is a game of incomplete information. And if you have more information, you do better. So you do better if you have more information and you put the information to better use, right? Because if you only the information, you don't do anything with it, it's also not worth. So you need to have information and you need to put the information to better use. That's very, very important, right? Therefore, also investing is about for people who really enjoy learning, who keep on learning, right? And of course, for people who are surviving, right? Or people who don't take too much risk, right? Because if you stay in the game, if you survive, you can gain more experience, and then you can improve. But let's go ahead. So investing in the stock market have 2 options: investing in ETFs, indexes, and investing in individual stocks. I'll be very clear: 90% of the people who are looking to invest should invest in indexes. Only if you're really willing to do the work, you should invest in individual stocks, but then also you can make way more return. All right. So the people who are not willing to study it, not willing to develop the skill of long-term investing, should invest in indexes. Only the few people who are really willing to go with experience, play the long game, the long term, they could do in stock picking, right? And also the image is about, the stock picking goes faster, but in the end, the turtle wins, right? Because the idea is the turtle always wins from the hare in the end, right? That's the story. So most people should just invest indexes unless you are really willing to do the work, right? this also comes back to, if you apply this information, you do better than 95% of the investors. If you buy a stock just because you read something in an article or on YouTube, don't do it. Now I'm going to tell you the most important concepts in long-term investing. All right, what are the most important concepts? First is compounding. Second is risk. Let's go ahead. First, compounding, right? Albert Einstein already said it. Compound interest is the eighth world wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, who doesn't pays it. I want to give you an example. 400 years ago, 1626, there was somebody from actually my country. I'm from the Netherlands. He bought Manhattan for $24 from an indigenous tribe, Native Americans. $24. If they would have invested these $24 every year for an inflation adjusted 7% return every year, after 400 years, they would have had 7.3 trillion. So yes, the $24, if you add it every year with 7%, and then again 7% inflation adjusted, right? So you adjust for the inflation, it would have been 7.3 trillion. 400 years later, the real estate value in Manhattan is estimated to be 2 trillion. So they would have been able to buy back 3 times all the real estate in Manhattan if they would just have put a $24 to work. That's the power of investing money, adding money, and don't go for 80% return, 70%. Just go like for a little bit of outperforming the market. Go for 50%, 20%, right? The world best investor, Warren Buffett, he gets like on average, he got like 33%, right? But he became like a multi-billionaire, one of the richest persons ever, right? So it's about compounding. That's what Einstein said already, the eighth wonder of the world. Second one, risk. Investing is about having an edge, so have more information than others and apply it better than others, right? That's the edge. And surviving. But if you want to have an edge, you need to survive first. So surviving is the most important thing. And that's just what you do by not taking too much risk, right? And the definition of risk is what is the risk of losing money with a strategy in the long run. And investing is about avoiding risk. Investing is not about money. It's not about winning. I'm sorry. It sounds weird, right? But investing, if you're a good investor, you don't care so much about winning. You care more about avoiding losses, right? So you make sure that you invest in good companies for a good price, in good business for a good price. We're going to go into better, but you avoid losing, right? Everything that you do need to be like at least good decisions and otherwise excellent, never bad decisions. You don't take too much risk, right? The world's most successful investor ever, Warren Buffett, he doesn't even invest in companies if he can see the business change. Like he's so risk averse that he doesn't, for example, invest in technology because technology can change rapidly, right? So he only invests, for example, in Coca-Cola because he knows, okay, Coca-Cola, there's like sugar, there's caffeine, it's very popular. People are going to drink it more. The world population is increasing. Nothing going to change. So I'm going to invest in Coca-Cola. So that's how risk averse is the most successful investor in the world. So it's about avoid risk, surviving first, right? You really apply this if you're going to do investing. So we discussed this already. Okay, the skill of long-term investing. If you want to do long-term investing, you need to develop 3 abilities. The first one is you need to really understand the business. Really understanding like what are they doing, why they're doing, where they're focusing on. Okay. Second, you have the ability to assess the financial information of a company, right? So what is like the most important metrics? What is the valuation, right? Some things in life you need to know, some things in life you need to be able to do, and some things in life you need to have like an opinion on or form a vision about, right? In investing as well, you need to understand the business, you have the ability to understand the financial information, right? The ability to read the financial information. And the third one is to form a vision, right? Because like I said, investing is an information game. If you just understand the business and you understand the financial information, you're not going to make it, right? Because everybody has that. You don't have an edge. You can only make it if you understand the business, you assess the financial information, and then you develop a vision, right? And that vision about what is going to happen. And then, of course, then you apply probability. And therefore, like, it's also so important to gain experience, right? Because vision is something that you learn by getting better, by getting experience. Then you improve and you're becoming better in forming a vision, right? So remember, also in life, some things you need to be able to understand. Some things you simply need to understand, some things you need to be able to do, and on some things you need to be able to form a vision about, right? And this is also with long-term investing. So the first thing is, right, the ability to understand the business. You need to learn to think as a business owner. What are they doing? What are they doing? For example, AMD is very simple, right? They sell chips. Okay, they sell chips for gamers. They sell chips for regular computers, and they sell chips for data centers. It's very simple, right? Then you can also look at what kind of chips they sell. For example, I know like what kind of types of AI chips they're selling, right? They got like the M300, M350, M400. You know also the market, right? You understand, okay, they're behind NVIDIA, but like they're catching up, right? You know the CEO. The CEO doesn't speak too much. The CEO usually does what she says, etc. It's like you need to understand the business, what they're doing, why they're doing, right? And remember, you don't buy shares, you buy a company, right? That's also literally what you do if you buy a shares. Second thing, you need the ability to assess the financial information of the company. What is the secret of investing? That there's only one form of intelligent investing, that is quantifying what a business is worth and then buy it for a better price. It's also called like so you find out what a company is worth, therefore you need to be able to understand the financial information of a company, and then you make sure that the price, if the price falls below it, that you buy it, right? So you can only make a good investment if you can quantify what something is worth, right? And then you buy with the margin of safety that you always buy for a way better price. And investing is not about buying high quality company, right? It's about investing when the price is low, when the deal is good, and when the risk is limited, right? Some basic financial information, right? Look for revenue growth. If it's really sustainable growing, for example, Amazon, just every quarter, every year is like growing double digits all the time in all their businesses, right? Look for revenue growth. Look for profit margins, how much money they can keep from every dollar of revenue they get. For example, NVIDIA, for every dollar of revenue, they can keep 76 cents. They have huge margins. Therefore, one of the reasons why they also like such the highly most valuable company in the world, right? Because they have 90% of the market share. They have the best chips in a very big growing market, and they make 76% profit margin. And of course, earnings per share as well, right? So cash flow, how much actually cash is coming in. Free cash flow, it's like how much cash is coming in and then how much is left after you're investing. Very important metrics. And also it's very important about the market valuation. How much is the company actually worth? Because based on the price of the stock, you cannot see what's it worth, right? Because if you buy in a company now, you pay for future cash flow, right? Because you invest now, you pay a certain amount of money. Because in the future, you want money to come back to you, right? So you pay now for future cash flows. So it depends how much cash flows there are, right? And the cash flows are changing all the time. So you cannot say if the cash flow every quarter is like growing by 10%, you cannot compare the price of 1 year ago with the current price. You need to check, okay, how much cash flow is there? How much money is coming in? How's the revenue growth? How is the market growing? And then you can evaluate a company, right? And therefore like various valuation techniques. And for example, the PE ratio, but also discounted cash flow model. For example, Google, PE-wise is very cheap, and it's like we can go in depth on it, but PE-wise is only 25 right now because the market is thinking that artificial intelligence is going to disrupt Google search. I think it's a complete mistake. I think Google will go way up. But so Google is 25, and NVIDIA is way more high. It's like PE ratio of 53. It's way more expensive, right? Because it's also stronger in a growing market. Actually, Google is also in a growing market. But so there's like, my point is you can take a look at these companies not only by the price of the stock, but you can use certain variables to assess how much is it worth. And the third thing is the ability to form a vision, right? So you want to understand the business, the competitors, the market, and you want to form a vision about what's going to happen. You need to have experience. So it's crucial to survive the learning curve. And very important, investor is for lifelong learners and those who enjoy learning. If you don't like learning, if you don't really want to understand it, you don't enjoy it, then you should buy indexes. And also don't buy based on because somebody tells you it, buy it on YouTube, because it's gonna go wrong, right? Because then something in the company changes, the stock goes down, and you don't know what to do, right? Because you don't know it yourself. But if you understand the business, you understand the valuation, you know why you bought it, you have a vision, then you have the confidence also to continue if it's going down. So what did we discuss? We discussed the introduction about who I am. We discussed the AI revolution, where we're from and where we're going to. We discussed the implications that AI is not about replacing humans or something other magical. Simply, it's productivity growth, right? That's what we're already seeing everywhere. We see self-driving cars, which is the AI revolution. We see like we don't need design anymore. We get mails automated. We can like summarize whole meetings in etc. etc. And there's like so much more to come. And we discussed the skill of long-term investing. Now the next step, investing is an information game, right? You need to find source to study, research companies, look on YouTube, look on X, look on newsletters, gain experience, survive first, right? All these companies here, they're all related to the AI. Basically, all the companies are related to the AI revolution, right? For example, Duolingo, it's like an application. It went down a lot in the last 2 months. Why? Because AI caused Apple to introduce instant translation in their earplugs, right? And that caused fear for Duolingo shareholders, apparently, when it went down. And because of AI, other applications start to come up with direct tutoring. Duolingo is an education app, direct tutoring, and therefore like the stock of Duolingo went down. So all these companies, they're all basically all the companies are getting hit or positive for the better, at least like reshapen by the AI revolution. So it's very important. It's only gonna continue for 2 to 10 years at least, and we see it every day, right? It's not that I'm just saying it. Every day in the stock market we're seeing it, even including today, including this week, including last week, including 2 weeks ago. And also like the next step could be next Monday we're starting with like a 2-month elite course on this topic, maximum 20 students. The price is $999 and we're gonna run through nine weeks of webinars. We're gonna discuss like the complete skill of long-term investing. We're gonna have group mentorship sessions so we can really apply it. We can practice. They're gonna be weekly assignments, and we're gonna get a complete insight in the AI revolution, right? Because I really advise you to immerse yourself completely in the AI revolution, right? Because it's gonna change everything. Like if your neighbor, if your colleagues are improving their productivity and you're staying behind, you're gonna stay behind, right? Because also the compounding aspect of money, it also deals with our skill, right? If somebody else is improving, the other person can also improve further and faster. So, and also the financial market is gonna be reshapen. Everything is basically going to be reshaped. It's also a lot of fun. So yeah, you can find the course in the comment section here in the alert. So yes, if you got any question, just let me know. I think we did 45 minutes. And of course I got the recording for you guys. I got the presentation as well. Just send me a mail. You can also leave your email here. And I hope to see you, in the course next Monday. It's gonna be really, really good. So are there any questions, guys? Of course, Veron, yes, definitely. We're gonna discuss that. That's very important. That's very, very important, Veron. You're very welcome, gents. If you like it, really join the course. It's gonna be like 2 months all about this. It's like a crash course. Not even a crash course, it's very deep actually, right? I'm going to show you the topics, right? We're going to discuss like the foundation of intelligent investing, what we discussed slightly a little bit already. The thing is like, I want to teach you all already today, but like we discussed 45 minutes and it was just like introductory, right? But we discussed still a lot. I told you I would teach you a lot today, at least like you will be improving a lot, but there's so much more to learn, right? We're going to discuss how to evaluate companies, how to form a vision, the fundamental analysis, how to understand companies, the market cycles, right? Also very important, where we're at the debt cycle, the economic cycle, and also, of course, the AI revolution, right? Why AI is the defining megatrend. We're going to take a look at the AI cloud, the data centers. The next week, we're going to take a look at the semiconductors, AMD, NVIDIA. We're going to take a look at the valuation, the growth. We're going to really dissect how to assess these companies. We're going to take a look at the networking and the energy, because that's going to be sooner or later in the next year or this year, we're going to see like all the energy stocks moving up, right? Because the market will wake up and say, hey, all these data sets, they need so much energy. And we can now I can already show you all these relevant companies. Yes, so I'm gonna, the people who left the email, I'm gonna send you the presentation. If anybody else would like to receive the PowerPoint presentation, just send me your mail. Just send me a mail. I will send the PowerPoint presentation later today. Right, you know, like long-term investing is also a very intellectual endeavor, right? Because you're combining, like, you're combining different dimensions with each other, right? You're combining understanding the business with the which is more like quantitative, right? Something you gotta like feel more not really abstract, but like just understanding a business, right? Like thinking like a businessman, like a business owner, but at the same time understanding like the most important financial metrics. It's a little bit more technical, and at the same time building a vision, what you expect that will happen, which is more abstract, right? So it's a very interesting combination, and meanwhile it's really about like learning and learning and learning, which gives a lot of pleasure, in my opinion. I think learning is one of the best things to do. I also graduated psychology with honors because I simply like learning, and improving yourself just is one of the things that can give us a lot of fun and pleasure. So it's really something fun, right? And I think in 9 weeks we can all come together. We can learn a lot, right? It's going to be also like a focus group, 20 students together, all in a group chat. Every week we also have group mentorship calls where we're all going to be together, discuss, okay, what happened here? What about this company? What do we see here? Etc. etc. So, yes. Are there any questions? Yes, I'm gonna close down now. All right, people. It was my pleasure being with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it.